time of year again. It is the time for setting New Year's resolutions and making plans for all facets of life. But if you are a language learner, then now is the time that we typically like to set our goals for the upcoming year. So we all kind of know already that setting those goals and creating beautiful plans for how to achieve those goals is pretty easy. However, I think we can also agree that actually achieving those goals, doing the plan, is a little bit more difficult. So that's why I decided to start off the new year with a little chat on exactly that topic. So welcome everyone, my name's Bettina, and I am a language teacher and coach. So I have been teaching English as a second language or as a foreign language since 2009, and I have been doing so online since 2014. I have worked with students in every age group and from everywhere in the world. I've noticed a thing or two about language learning, and I decided it was about time that I share those things with you. So that's what I aim to do here. And in this first introductory video, I'm going to talk about why keeping our goals is so difficult, what we can do about it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal language learning goals for 2024, because like you, I am a language learner too. All right, so let's get started. First, why is it so difficult to stick to our plan when we make these wonderful goals about language learning and really any goals in general? Why do we fail to achieve them? You know, there are always all those statistics every year about how many people fail in their goals or give up on their goals within the first couple of weeks of January. Well, the first kind of obvious and often talked about reason is that we will typically overestimate what we are able to do. And when we try to actually do those things, when we try to actually work through our carefully laid plans, then we very quickly develop a sense of overwhelm. I know I have done this many, many times. I love making plans. I truly do. But I always fall flat within a few days of making those plans. And it is exactly this. However, I do want to say it is not just overestimating. Very often, the problem is that we change too many things at once. We make too many drastic changes in our routine, and this is problematic. So I'm going to label this as we choose the wrong activities. And what I mean by that is, in your typical language learning goals, people always mention things like, I have a textbook, I'm going to work through the textbook, I'm going to complete X number of classes per week or per day, and I'm going to listen to X number of podcasts, and I'm going to watch this series or film. All of those are wonderful activities. They're perfect activities, really. The problem is, if you are not currently using those activities in some other way, for example, if you don't have a habit of working with a textbook, if you're not one that likes watching movies or series, that's me, I prefer reading. I don't even own a television, I never have. If you choose those kind of activities, you will very quickly find that you will lose interest. And on top of that, these activities, because they are unfamiliar to you, they're going to feel like they're too much. They are going to feel overwhelming. All right, so I think this is really the problem in why we tend to not achieve our goals, because we make beautiful plans about what we think we should do, but we don't take into consideration enough our current lifestyle and our current preferences in life. So when we try to institute these changes all at once from January 1st, it becomes too much. So what can we do about this? Well, first, I would suggest evaluating your current lifestyle, especially if this is a lifestyle that you enjoy. When I say that, evaluate your lifestyle, it might sound a little bit harsh, but it's really not. What I'm trying to get at is you don't need to make major changes in your life. You don't need to make a major overhaul unless perhaps you are not happy in your current lifestyle. You know you are living in a way that does not make you happy. That is a completely different story, and I will leave that to other people. What I am going to talk about is when you have a lifestyle that is working for you or working well enough, how can we use that then in our language learning? These are things, this will bring up things like I journal. I journal every morning, almost without fail. So something that I could do in my target language would be to journal in that language. Now, this may be more or less difficult depending on the level of the language that I already have. If I'm a total beginner in something, I'm not going to want to write out my entire journal. However, what I can do is I can write my journal and take up, now usually I take between 25 and 30 minutes to do this. So if I know I take, for example, 30 minutes, then I will adjust that to 25. And in those final 5 minutes, I will take a sentence from my journal and I will work on translating that. I will translate it, even if I just have to copy out send it through Google Translate, copy it out, fine. That is my learning objective for the day if I am a brand new beginner to the language. And then I can take that and work with it later in other ways. If I am intermediate or advanced in a language that I'm working with, I could at least attempt to write my whole journal entry in that language, or maybe half of it. Maybe I split the time evenly, something like that. If, let's say, for example, if I liked watching movies or TV, maybe I watch an episode of something in the evening. For my language learning, I could do something like, instead of watching my English language series, I could watch one episode of whatever other series in the target language that I'm working with. This is what I mean by evaluating your lifestyle. See what activities you already do, which might be easily or not too difficult to convert to something you could do in your target language. Once you take a look at your lifestyle and see where you might be able to naturally fit in some language study, the next thing that I think we should do is to really take time to understand, to think about and understand what is it that I really want out of this language. Whatever language it is that you're trying to learn. Do you want to be completely fluent, meaning read, write, speak, comprehend, listening comprehension, that's the term. Do you want to be able to do all of that? Or is it a language that you want to do specific things with? For example, I am a huge fan of K-dramas. I don't watch them often, but I really like them. So if I were to learn Korean, my top priority would be listening comprehension, more than likely, because I want to understand what's going on in the series without having to read the subtitles. Or another example, if I wanted to learn, say, Arabic. There are quite a few classic texts in Arabic and I am a big-time reader, as mentioned. There might be some classic literature that I want to read. Well, that would be my objective. I would need to learn reading and writing. So think about the language you are learning or you want to learn and think about why you want to learn it. If it is something that you know you don't really want to speak in, make adjustments. If you're not sure, I will give this caveat. If you're not sure how fluent you want to be in that language, I do advocate getting a balanced mix of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Because if you decide down the line that you want to add something in which you didn't think you wanted to do, it will be much easier if you started from the beginning. Okay, so take that into consideration. Once you've looked at these two things, lifestyle and what you want out of the language, then I think it's pertinent to make a list of activities that overlap those two things. What activities can I do in my target language that will help me to accomplish those goals? Once I have that list, then now is when we can create a schedule of activities. However, we are not going to just create a schedule and leave it written in stone. No, this would also be bad, because I also believe one of the reasons people stop working toward their goals after just a few days or a few weeks is because they realize that the schedule they made out doesn't work, and either they don't know how to fix it, or they feel as though they would be giving up if they adjusted anything. They think it must be this way. So I would say make a temporary schedule. Make a schedule for an ideal week given the activities that you chose. Test it out for 1 week. Do everything to the best of your ability, and at the end of the week, evaluate. Was it too much? Was it too little? Did you find some activities were actually kind of boring when you thought they would not be? Evaluate that and adjust. So for the following week, then, create a new schedule which is a little bit different based off of what you realized in the first week. Do this as often as you feel is needed until you find a schedule that works, a schedule that you can commit to, that does not feel like too much work, and that brings you closer to your goals. All right, now here I do want to mention one other observation that I had, which may be pertinent to you. So even though I find all of this planning and evaluation phase very interesting and very fun, for many people it may be overwhelming. For myself, I am very prone to analysis paralysis. I will spend way too long trying to get everything perfect and fit everything into the perfect schedule, and inevitably I will drop everything within like 2 or 3 days of implementing it because it just didn't work out. I know this about myself. I have to constantly remind myself, no, you're going to do this, you're going to test it out, you're going to reevaluate, you're not going to think about this for a week before you start doing something. I already know this, but many people may not. If you're not used to going through this analysis process, if you're not sure what language learning activities will be good for you and which ones won't, if you're not sure what your options even are, it might be helpful to get a little help. So for any of you who may be struggling or want a little additional hand-holding in setting your goals or meeting the goals that you have set, if you're wondering why this isn't working for me, please contact me. All of my information is in the description. I do have for you a guide to creating a personalized plan for fast language learning. I also offer language coaching and accountability sessions. I may or may not have tutoring also available. If I do, it will be in the description. I have a lot that I can offer. I have many years of experience working with all different types of language learners. If that is of interest to you, please take a look. All right, so back to our theme for today. I promised that I would tell you a little bit about my plan. So typically I do not set New Year's goals. I do not set plans for language learning. However, I decided since I was going to take my career onto YouTube, it might be worthwhile for you to see what can the teacher learn. I sit here, I have, years and years of experience teaching language, but can I learn it myself? I think we should find out. My language background involves multiple languages. I know 2 other languages at about an intermediate level. I'm conversational in both. And then I have dabbled in a couple of other languages. So I will get more into detail on that in later videos. But my plan for the moment is I have a little bit of a deadline to work on those 2 intermediate languages. And the background on that is my family is German and Austrian. So I want to visit my Austrian aunt who is currently working in Cuba. Therefore, I have reason to polish up my German and Spanish. And I want to do that, I want to make that visit in approximately 3 to 4 months. So that gives me a deadline, and I'm kind of curious to see if I follow my own guidelines that I give all of my students, how much can I improve? So that is what I will be working on first. From about January through the end of March, I'm going to be focusing on improving my German conversation and getting comfortable again with Spanish. The Spanish is not as much of an issue for me. Again, I'll talk more in detail about that later. Alongside that, I have 1, possibly 2 languages that I really know nothing in, but that have been keeping my interest for the moment. So while I will focus more on the German and Spanish, like have set times to study, have set activities to do. These other languages I may just do if I feel like, so for example, in the evening when I'm tired, when I don't want to do anything else, I might watch a show in these languages with subtitles. I might listen to something, but I'm not going to put any massive actual effort into this language. It's going to be more just lazy input. I know that's not much of a detailed plan, but because I know that I typically do not do well with detailed plans, this is what I have at the moment. I will be coming back and updating you between January and the end of March. I'm planning for the beginning of each month to let you know what it is that I've done and how it's working out. And along the way, through my upcoming videos, I will give you more information about the languages that I know, the languages that I would like to know, and what kind of activities I do to help me learn. So that is all for today. Thank you all for joining me in my very first language YouTube video. And I hope that some of you will stick around for the journey to see how it ends up. For all of you learning languages this year, I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you in roughly a week with more information on how to improve or make your language learning more fun. Thank you again, and see you next time.